Welcome, everybody, to the Xavier Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for the Xavier Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, a legendary Xavier basketball announcer. Help me welcome to the show, Andy MacWilliams. How you doing, Andy Mac?
Mike, I'm feeling better. It'll be abject euphoria if Xavier can head to Creighton on Sunday and beat the Blue Jays out there in Omaha. But the Wednesday step was in the right direction. Xavier posting a pretty convincing win over Georgetown, 66-57. It could have been 15 or 20 points if Xavier had made a decent percentage from the free throw line, but it doesn't matter. Overall, the effort level, the commitment to defense, and the bigger lineup, and getting much more mileage out of the two really good freshmen in Kiki Tandy and Zach Freemantle. Xavier looked like I wouldn't say a completely different team, but it was a good step or two or three or four in the right direction.
Yeah, they seem to play with a lot more energy with that lineup change.
Yeah, it worked well. Travis used the Xavier Way scoring system, which is a function of players' performance in practice. They score every drill, and he said that whether it was a big, small, medium lineup, the top five scorers would be in the starting lineup. That's what he did. Unfortunately, Quentin Gooden, who has really been struggling lately, tweaked the knee and warm up. Actually, I saw him getting treatment at practice on Tuesday for the same thing. So he was not available. He most likely would have played off the bench because he's struggled certainly shooting a rock, and but he's still bought in. Hopefully, Q will get himself healthy and be back into the rotation maybe Sunday at Creighton, where he's played very well during his career. I looked up his numbers. He's averaged 15 points, like 4 assists, 2 steals. He had the game-winning free throws there 2 years ago. So it would be nice to get Quentin back as a downhill guard option, which he has been for 3+ years for Hex. But as we talked before, Kiki Tandy really had a coming out party. We'll see if he can repeat it on the road at Creighton on Sunday.
Yeah, and another guy, if you look at the stat line, it doesn't look great because you're usually looking offense when you go stat line. But Zach Freemantle did a yeoman's job underneath on the boards and playing defense against Georgetown's two big men.
Yeah, I thought Freemantle was excellent. You say 4 points, but he had a bunch of other good looks that either didn't go down or the shooting luck wasn't there. 7 rebounds, and he's always around the ball. Great nose to the ball. He is, I'm calling him the king of the 50-50s these days. For those 50-50 balls, he gives it the second and third effort. He makes some really heady plays, like tipping the ball to keep it alive, and a flurry on the offensive glass. And he moves his feet well. And I think he's going to be a great stretch for Xavier. He's in the starting lineup now, playing with the big Tyreek Jones, and Zach can step out he's going to take a big guy with him. If they don't, he'll shoot that three. And he also has a very good mid-range game, which he showed earlier in the year. He's got that little baseline 10-foot jumper, and he can shoot it off the dribble. He is. I don't mean to. This may be hyperbole. This may be Andy Mack being overly optimistic, but I think this guy's got a huge upside. He's going to be a 3.5-year starter for Xavier, and he reminds me a lot of, and I said it earlier in the year, of maybe not quite as explosive offensively as Gordon Hayward, who started for Butler back in a few years ago. A lot like Andrew Smith, who was a big guy for Butler when they made the 2 Final Fours. And I'm thinking, you may relate to this. He reminds me a punch with his hustle of Robbie Hummel, who played for Purdue, and I mean, he just puts his body on the line, and he can score the ball too. It's not just, he combines skill and effort at a level that you seldom see.
All right, I'm from Indiana, but I don't like Purdue. But yeah, Robbie Hubbell's tough.
Hubbell had a great career. Xavier played against him like 3 times, once in the NCAA and twice in a home and home, and he just he put it on the line every night. He just gave. It was like one game at Xavier when the Muskies came way back in the last 10 or 12 minutes, back in the days of 2 Holloway. Hummel just had a full body cramp at the end of the game. He put out so much energy.
Yeah, and Tyreek Jones with a double-double. We're kind of accustomed to that, but Jason Carter is a guy that I think got lost in this a little bit too. 10 rebounds, 11 points, 4 for 8 from the field. He's a guy that seems to be playing with more confidence as the season goes on also.
Yeah, they started the big lineup, and Carter technically was the small forward. He's a legitimate 6'8", and they moved him. They got him the ball closer to the basket. He looked a lot more comfortable. Instead of dribbling in from the wing or sort of eyeing a three-pointer and being hesitant, they gave him the ball, below the free throw line. He has some nice moves. I mean, he goes left, right. He's got the up and under. He's got the shot fake. Really soft hands. There's a good chance of getting a couple of old-time three-point plays out of him every game because he really shoots the free throws very well. So. Yeah, Carter looked much more comfortable, and to keep this big lineup viable for a lot of minutes, and I think it is. Carter's a key guy because he's going to have to guard a guard, and I think he's quick enough to go out on the floor. Say against Creighton, they start the 3 really good perimeter shooter guard types, and Zagorowski, Ballack, and Tyshawn Alexander. He's got a guy guard one of those guys if they're going to play that big lineup. I can see him, Mitch Ballack is sort of catch and shoot, and Carter can fight through the ball screens and maybe, not lock him up, but at least limit him. So I think Carter is much more comfortable on the offensive end when he's getting the ball closer to the basket. And on the defensive end, we'll see if he can guard a player like Mitch Ballack out at Creighton on Sunday.
Yeah, and then, of course, Najee Marshall is always, especially in big games that Xavier needs to win, it seems like he could just will himself to do something. He scored 18 points in a game, and the key here was with 5 minutes left, him and Kiki back-to-back hit threes, which pushed the lead to 16, and for all intents and purposes, ended the game.
Yeah, Najee was sort of hamstrung with foul trouble almost the entire game. He still played 29 minutes. Travis did a good job of weaving him in and out of the game. Najee is he's a junior now, and he knows how to avoid foul trouble. And he and Tandy really changed the offense. They spread out the opposing team's defense, and both of those guys are really good penetrators. Kiki showed it for the first time. Now everybody will see it on tape. I mean, he drove 4 or 5 times hard to the hole, which is sort of his calling card from high school. I mean, he's known as a great dunker. He had that foot injury. I think he was a little hesitant. But in this game, he went right at that big Yurt 7 guy once and finished with a 3-point play on a bucket off the glass, and then he went to the line and hit the free throw. And I think Greg McDermott of Creighton's going to look at that tape, and he didn't see much of Kiki 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati. He's going to, we have to lay off that guy a little bit. And when you do that, Kiki's a flamethrower from outside. He's not going to take bad shots. He'll take some long shots, though, if you leave him open. And Najee, sort of the same way, but he has a better reputation now because he's all Big East, and he's going to. They lay off. There's nothing the player hates when he goes to videotape review the day after the game, and the coach just grills him because he gets blown by. So you take an extra step back from Najee if you're guarding him because you don't want to get ripped in front of your teammates and yelled at because he blows by and dunks on you, or lays it up or pulls up for a little jumper after he blows by you. And Kiki is the same type. I mean, he could really embarrass the guy guarding him, and I was impressed. Kiki played almost 28 minutes, and he looked good at point guard. I'm thinking to myself, he hasn't been that assertive so far. I think he respects his elders. He's looking to find his place among the veteran players. And the guys came up to him and said, show us what you can do like you do in practice. And I think they respected, he respected their confidence in him, and he showed sort of the full Monty there of his abilities. Although he's still getting acclimated, and we'll see how he does in a road game and a primetime role against Creighton. But he is just dripping with talent, and if he can run the offense, and Georgetown threw a full court press on him, and they did it with a fifth-year guy, Terrell Allen, who was a starting point guard at UCF last year, and he was the guy who engineered an upset of VCU, and they almost beat Duke in the NCAA tournament. And he was on Kiki physically. I thought he got away with a lot of contact because he's a sly old fox and he's on the body. But Kiki, for the most part, handled that pressure really well. And I had my questions about whether he was ready to really, run the offense against pressure defense and recognize different defensive wrinkles. But he exceeded my estimation on that. And we all know that he, if you give him a crease, boy, he could step back and drill that three. He is a flamethrower.
Yeah, and I think the defense on McClung was very good too, which I don't think he hit a three-pointer in the game. I know Najee had him a little bit. They went a little bit big on him, which seemed to help. Now, when we look at Creighton with the three-guard lineup, and I think when they beat Xavier a couple weeks ago, 77-64 or 77-65, 48 of those 77 points came from those three guards. Do you think that we will see this lineup in this game, or do you think we'll see Gooden if he's healthy, or more maybe Bryce Moore?
I think he will definitely start this big lineup. I mean, he liked what he saw, and again, we'll see if Carter can guard consistently out on the perimeter. It gives Creighton something to worry about. I mean, Creighton is physically is not a very imposing team. They start Bishop, who is a bouncy, hardworking 6'6" guy. He's their post. And how the Southeast Missouri State transfer Denzel Mahaffey is doing a good job off the bench. He's a bit of a dirty player. He's always on the body, but he can score the ball, and he doesn't mind knocking people on their keister. But Xavier, if they control tempo, if they pound the ball inside, they cut down on the turnovers, and play the style they played against Georgetown, and keep the game, high 50s to mid 60s, they can beat Creighton out there. They need to. It's going to be a close game if they win. I assume they're going to have to do a little better job at the free throw line. They've got to get to the free throw line. In that first game against Creighton in Cincinnati, Xavier got out-rebounded by a much smaller team. They only shot 6 free throws, where Creighton shot 19, so they were minus 12 in free throw points. And they got outscored by, I think, 4 made three-pointers. So, they just have to play a more physical, more half-court game at Creighton, and I think that they have a good chance of knocking that team off.
Yeah, and Creighton is coming off a big win. They blew out DePaul fairly easy, 83-68 at DePaul on Wednesday night. And when you look at Creighton, last Saturday they beat Providence 78-74 at home. Before that, they lost to Georgetown 83-80. So even with the DePaul win at DePaul, Creighton is a lot better team at home.
Yeah, I think they're 11-1 at home, and Creighton's only loss in Omaha was 64-59 to Villanova about 3 weeks ago, and Creighton sort of collapsed late in that ball game, and Gillespie had a great second half for Villanova. But one thing, and I give Creighton all sorts of credit, because DePaul there's a team that has really had some bad luck so far. I mean, they are They are a beast, but one of their beasts did not play against Creighton. Jalen Butts, who is having a great junior year, paired with the big stretch four, Paul Reed. I mean, they are maybe the best 4 or 5 combination in the Midwest. Those two. Butts has had, I guess he's had some leg problems. He missed half a game a couple of weeks ago, and he missed the whole game, did not play in against Creighton. But that's a big loss for them. Butts is much more than a supporting player now. He's learned how to negotiate foul trouble, and he's averaging, I think, over 10 and right near 8 or 9 rebounds. So, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Creighton, but with Butts in the game, it's probably much more competitive.
Well, it'll tell you how good the Big East is. That DePaul is sitting at 1-5 in the Big East right now.
That's right. I mean, their schedule. I mean, every schedule in the Big East is brutal, but they've lost to Seton Hall. They lost a 1-pointer to Providence. They took Villanova to overtime. DePaul did at the Pavilion, and they lost the game in OT. They are much better, and they have the point guard Charlie Moore, who's a double transfer from Cal Berkeley and from Kansas. He's back home in Chicago. That guy can shoot you in or shoot you out, though. I mean, he's an amazing player, but he takes some really bad shots. And when he is like freelancing out there, he's got to drive the coach Dave Lato crazy. When he's on, he's just a son of a gun to guard, and really makes that team go. But hopefully, when Xavier has to play them twice, DePaul, so hopefully Charlie Moore will go in the tank in both of those situations. But yeah, that team, DePaul at 1-5, and St. John's is in the basement at 1-6, and they're pretty darn good.
I watched them play Seton Hall life and death last Saturday.
Well, that game at Madison, that's a Texas death match when those two teams play at MSG. I mean, they hate each other. It's New Jersey against the Big Apple, and I don't think there's any love lost between Kevin Willard and anybody, any other coach in the Big East. It doesn't matter who it is. He's just a cranky, excuse-filled. I mean, he's a hell of a coach, but I'll tell you, he's just he's a coach's son. What can I say?
All right, so what do you expect Sunday? You think Xavier can take this game? I think they can win this game. I think it would be huge. It would put them up within shouting distance of at least third place in the Big East, because there's a bunch of teams that are kind of bunched in there, anywhere from 3-3 to 4-3. I think they're going to get this.
It's a big ask if you look at the 12-point deficit or whatever it was 2 weeks ago, Creighton over Xavier. But that score was sort of padded by free throws, and I give Creighton credit. They cracked the Xavier press, and they went to the line and made the free throws and fleshed the lead out. But Xavier needs to get off to a decent start in Omaha. You can really get down in your dauber at that place. It'll be SRO and wild out there, and X just needs to. They've got to get on the glass, beat them on the boards, pound the ball inside. If it gets ugly, get to the free throw line. I think Tandy and Fremantle, I think they combined for 5 points in game 1 against Creighton. And, they're better than that. They're going to get more opportunities than that. And it would be nice if Quentin Gooden could come off the bench and be healthy enough to give Creighton a little bit of a change-up look. As I said, Q has played some great games at Creighton. Xavier's 2-1 with him as the starting point guard. In his freshman year, he hit 4 threes out there. Creighton left him alone. They didn't guard him, and he just made them pay. And then 2 years ago, he went coast to coast with 4.6 seconds left, and Xavier down 1, and took it to the rim, got fouled, and made both free throws to win it for Xavier 72-71 in regulation. So they don't like him very much out in Creighton. He likes the floor, and it'd be a great, quick little turnaround comeback, because Q was very supportive on the bench. He was totally involved. Kiki Tandy said after the game that Q told him to step up and And every time out, Q was giving a little pointers on what to expect. And, I think Q is bought in from a team standpoint. And, I'll predict, what the heck do I know, that Q is going to have a big impact on this team, whether it's as a starter or off the bench as we, head toward the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden. His career is not going to end with a whimper.
Yeah, and I think Paul Scruggs, a guy who couldn't buy a basket the other night, I don't expect that to happen 2 games in a row either. So I think Scruggs is going to have a big hand in this game also.
Yeah, I mean, they got to guard Scruggs. He is strong to the bucket. He's going to take anybody who guards him right to the hole. And the other night against Georgetown, Najee hardly played in the first half because of the foul trouble, and Scruggs basically had to play 20 straight minutes. And right at the end of the half, man, he took the ball to the hole in the last, and he got reefed. He got knocked to the ground. He was way up there. Somebody took him out. No foul call. I mean,
the officiating the whole game was terrible.
That game was poorly officiated. The officials, they got behind it, like a lot of officiating crews do. They make a bad call, then they try to make it up. Then they try to make up the makeup that they didn't do right. I mean, it was whoever that the gray-haired guy is with a pompadour hairdo is the worst official in the league.
Yeah.
And the other guy, the other old guy with the black hair and the slick back hair, he's equally as bad. I mean, geez. I mean, most of the officiating's gotten a lot better in the Big East since year one. But that crew was shaky. Sheesh.
All right, Andy, you want to tell everybody?
Although they did call the fouls on that big Yurt-7 guy, and he had to sit the bench quite a bit, which did work in Xavier's favor.
I didn't think that it was really one. I just thought it was bad all the way around.
Yeah. I don't think there's any. There's no conspiracy theory here. I think a lot of the times this year, Xavier's not gotten the good whistle at home because they haven't been aggressive.
Yeah.
You've got to, sort of grab the home court advantage by the throat and pound people. And I think they did much better against Georgetown. Now, as Field says, was it defense, rebounding, and effort? They travel very well. We got to put those 3 things in our suitcase and get out to Omaha.
Yeah,
and
to get to the tournament,
I think they will.
They're going to have to win some games on the road here.
Well, there's no doubt they've got the 2 losses at home. So even if they run the table, that's 7-2. And among the home games left are Villanova and Butler, and I mean, they're all good teams in the league. But 7-2, you figure you got to win at least 2 road games, and I feel really good about Xavier's NCAA chances. If they walk into New York, any team in the league, any team in this league that walks into New York with 10 regular season wins, a 10-8 record, they're a lock for the tournament. I mean, they could even get food poisoning and not even show up for the quarterfinals, and they're there.
Because they're healthy by the next week.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get healthy. But there are going to be at least 6 Big East teams in the NCAA, 6 out of 10. And if the wins are distributed just so, there could be 7. I think there is a scenario for 7 teams, and you don't want to be what the heck, any port in a storm. But I think Xavier has the talent. They've got the commitment. They got the coaching. They got the pedigree to be one of those 6.
All right, Andy, very good. You want to tell people where they can follow you on Twitter? MM_Andy Mac. MM_Andy Mac. And I put sort of long Twitter threads up there because, I don't know, I'm old school and I'm not really good on abbreviations. Me neither. And that 140-word thing they limit you to drives me nuts.
Yeah, I've had some problems with that myself, but I do write for MusketeerMadness.com, and I put some longer form stuff on there when the spirit moved me. But it's just sort of like I'm a retired guy. This is sort of an avocation for me. I mean, I enjoy it. I get wrapped up in it, but I'm not going to spend my whole life doing this stuff. So.
All right, very good. So make sure you follow Andy on MusketeerMadness.com and on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at GruelingTruth. So for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. He's Andy MacWilliams. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth where the legends speak. I've done like